What's up, Gainz Nation?
What's up, Gate? What is that? That Boston Brew. Oh, what is hockey? Oh, hockey just finished not too long ago. But in other news, football just started today for the first time.
What? What do you mean?
Yeah, they have the Hall of Fame game, and then preseason starts.
There's not a preseason game today, is there?
It's the Hall of Fame game. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it has to do with the preseason, but football technically starts today, buddy.
I'm gonna go to the Patriots training camp tomorrow, actually.
Wow.
Next
I
week.
heard Tom Brady's gonna be there just for just for memories.
He will not. But did you hear how bad the freaking Dolphins got spanked this past week for just chatting with him a couple years ago?
No, I did not.
They lost like
What
a
happened?
first-round pick, I think, next year or maybe 2024, and a third-round pick.
Oh, just because they were trying to get Tom Brady?
Yeah, because they were like talking to him during like restricted time period or something like that. I don't know.
Well, they also had problems with their ownership too. I think isn't that why the coach like retired or quit the team? Like there was like
Brian Flores quit because he wasn't liking the direction of the team, and at least like under his admission, the owner was saying, "Hey, we need you to throw games so we can get a better we can get."
yeah.
He's like, "I'm not going to do that," and then freaking for Coach Flores because Bill Belichick, who's homies with like other coaches, he texts Brian Flores and he says, "Hey, congrats on getting the job." But he meant to send that to Brian Daboll because obviously like Bill Belichick is connected to the Giants organization, right? Because he worked with them for years. So he must have gotten the lowdown like, "Hey, Brian Daboll got the position." But I don't even think Brian Flores had interviewed yet. So that's like the whole situation with the NFL with like trying to, I forget the name of the rule, but they like the Rooney rule or something like that. But it's essentially saying like if you are like a black coach or something along those lines, like you should get a shot, like you should get an interview, which is like more than fair, right? It's like Brian Flores is like a very talented coach, so I think it's like poo-poo on the Giants organization for not like actually hearing him out and like hearing what he wanted to do with the team. But the Dolphins and like there's been a lot of like shicey stuff going on too. Like Deshaun Watson, I think he caught like a 6-game suspension from NFLPA, but then the NFL is like contesting it or something along those lines. There's a lot of weird shenanigans that are going on in the off season.
That's just to show you like it's like so crazy and what happens in the background. And also too as a coach, like I would not want to like throw games on purpose. Like I get it, like the overall like picture is like, hey, like we could probably potentially get someone that make our like organization a much better team. But at the point where it's like the integrity of what got you there to be a head coach is like crazy. It's because like what if down the road like the person wants to head coach somewhere else and they're like, well, we noticed that you purposely well, not purposely, but it looks like you went like 0-17 last season. Like what was the point of all that? Like what do you have to show as a head coach? Like why would we want you on our organization when you led a team that went 0-17? Like I get it, like the games weren't there, you might have had injuries, you might have had players that weren't the best, but like I wouldn't like it's like prepping yourself for failure because then now look like you don't have really a good future. And if like you become a head coach, like the next step would probably be like maybe like ownership in the organization, bigger moves in the organization or whatever the case may be. But like that's crazy. I would never do that. It's like asking you to fail on purpose just so you could try to get up in the world. It's like ethically like that's not like appropriate at all in my opinion.
And that infuriates me because like I'm such like sometimes such a hyper competitive person, like beyond like being competitive, like I want to win, like I want to smash everyone on the team, I want to destroy numbers, like I basketball, I want to like embarrass you, like I want to like show my best skills, like that's how I am. Like I can like take it back if I'm playing like freaking I was a camp. I used to like we play tag, and I never let kids tag me. And then, my superiors would be like, hey, maybe you should let the kids tag you. I'm like, yeah, I know. So that, you have to obviously balance that out, of course, so that, kids feel included and stuff. But that would infuriate me as a competitor, because I'd be I when people give up when I'm playing basketball, for example, and I can tell that people are giving up and they're actually not playing, I'll dribble the ball near them. If they're just gonna walk, I'll dribble the ball near them just so that I can make it more competitive. And I'm like, dude, play. And then if they're not, then I'll just be like, all right, well, I don't want to play if I understand if sometimes, but that would infuriate me. And I think that there's a more active way to do it too, which poo-poo on the Dolphins. There are so many people that are coming up nowadays, in professional sports, that just need a shot. Who knows if there could have been so many other Tom Bradys and made it so that Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady, but they just never got a shot, right? So yeah. in that situation, maybe you want to be hey, it's gonna be kind of more like preseason. We're gonna have Tua start or whatever, but then we're gonna have the backup come in and get some reps, or we're gonna have the backup running back come in because we want them to get reps, because we think that they're gonna be the future of the organization. But right now, their skill level isn't at the same level as Tyreek Hill for this upcoming season. But you still want to see this wide receiver get reps, and you also want to minimize the risk for some your more veteran players that are more high skill. That's a more tactful way to do it. You still try to win, and in doing so, you give that person more confidence to become the potential superstar that they could be. So
all we're asking is give Roman a chance, guys.
That's that movie or that song. It's take a chance on me. But yeah, exactly.
But in any news, I don't know that song you're trying to say, but before we started get into it, I didn't even say anything last time, or I just kind of thought of it a couple of days ago, or the end of last week. But just so you know, I'm actually I'm trying to do a 24-hour fast, and I didn't even mention it to you yesterday. Yeah, so I actually have about 5 hours and 20 minutes left.
Okay.
So it's kind of rough. Trying to do other additional things besides work is kind of hard right now. But I didn't even mention it through text, but I was like, you know what? Last night I stopped eating around 6:30, 7 p.m. and I was like, well, I wanted to do it at least one time this week, and I had a lot of carbs from yesterday because yesterday was my running day. So I was pretty hydrated, a lot of sodium intake and carbohydrate intake. So I was like, well, let me try it. So I did lift this morning. Lift actually went pretty well. I mean, the only thing, I guess I got less reps on, but the first two sets, the only thing I kind of struggled with was the bicep curls. I was able to get higher reps in my first two sets, but the last two sets, there was really not too much in the tank. But I did still go to RPE 9 or 10 on bicep curls. And the only thing I've had today other than water was black coffee. And I actually, after the workout, I did some salt and pre-workout. And yes, there might be a little bit of calories here and there when it comes to that pre-workout powder, but I think it's to the minimum point where it's I'm still fasted. Even that episode on Joe Rogan about I forgot who it was about, they were talking about fasting, but she was saying the doctor was saying coffee has calories too, but technically if you stay under a certain threshold, that's technically fasted. So yeah, I mean, the workout went fine. I went in the sauna today, which is, I think it was a bad idea. I got back home, I took a shower, and I was just nauseous and pretty much my stomach was really hungry. So I've been just trying to keep distracted when it comes to thinking of food. So I've been just trying to work as much as possible, obviously prep for this podcast. And then, after working, I might go on a very slow lethargic walk where I'm just outside instead of in the apartment. but I'm not trying to overexhaust it to the point where I want to pass out. So you know what? I was telling my friends this today earlier, Roman, but it's been a while since I've fasted past like 10 hours of eating. Most of the time, obviously, that 10 hours is like sleeping. So like obviously, I'm not fasting through like being awake. I'm counting the hours of me sleeping. So like on a typical time, usually like I'll fast like 8 to 10 hours all the time, like from night to like morning. But I just wanted to take it a step further, and I think this is like for personal reasons. Like obviously, there's probably not going to be a positive or negative thing that came out of this. It's just something I just wanted to do on a personal level. Like you know how like Muslim religion, like they fast like all the time, and they can't even drink water throughout the day during the sunlight hours. So like to think that they could do that throughout like multiple days, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do this. Obviously, I'm not doing like the no water, no coffee thing, but like I said, I'm just trying to do this for me. I'm not promoting it. I probably would advise against it because it doesn't feel that good. And then yeah, man, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm not trying to push anything. I'm just openly talking on the podcast just because like I didn't even post it on social media. I'm not gonna post it, but like I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on like these fitness challenges and stuff, and like my creative side when it comes to like the podcast and stuff is like I kind of want to do this for like the talking points and also like just to see like how it affects my body and whatnot. So like like it helps me think like creatively, like what could we show the fitness world, and like what other ways we can promote like other things or talk about other things by doing it ourselves. So that's all I gotta say.
That's pretty cool, buddy. No, I had no idea you were doing that. That's really neat.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if you guys ask like Roman and I how many times we eat during the day, it ranges from like 4 to 7 meals a day. Like on the high end, like sometimes I'm eating 7 meals, and I bet Roman's eating 7 meals sometimes, and on the low end it's like 3 to 4 meals. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that, but we'll move on to the next thing. We got like two things we want to talk about today, too, guys. That we might not fully get into, like maybe the second one, but I also was talking to Roman, and Roman and I were talking about like certain things that we've been talking about on the podcast, but like we don't really go further into detail. So Roman recently had the growing injury before he left Chicago. Slight hernia, I would maybe prescribe it as. And I wanted to kind of just talk about like how Roman was able to obtain an injury, how he kind of went through the thoughts in the process, how it negatively impacted him, and how he came out positively when it came to like, not hurting himself more and also being able to progress in certain other areas of his exercise and fitness. And I kind of want to talk about that today, Roman, because I think it's important to kind of, showcase on like what you did and kind of the steps you did, and also kind of give some advice on what you would suggest to some certain people, because you did sustain an injury that was pretty effective when it comes to like actual like the kind of the goals you had in mind and like kind of the movements you were kind of restricted towards. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. Obviously, that's a lot of questions in one, what I just said, but first off, like kind of describe like what the injury you went through and like kind of how it affected your training and what you were doing during that point of time.
Yeah, so I think I could be off by a couple days, but it was somewhere around like March 14th, March 15th. I had a heavy squat scheduled. Also, I had programmed deadlifts at the same time. So I think I was doing like slow, controlled reps, like bodybuilding squats with my squat shoes. So it's a lifted heel, so you can like get more emphasis on the quads. I think it was like I had like 235, 245 on the bar. Probably did like 5 to 6, 5 to 7, 8 reps, and I felt fine. It was like challenging set, RP like 7 maybe, RP 8. It was fine. It seemed fine. then I also did deadlifts. Seemed fine, somewhere around like probably 245 pounds. I think I was using straps at the time because my grip strength just seemed to be crap. Maybe I was overtrained, who knows? And, some accessory type stuff. After the session, I probably felt like wiped, but like pretty typical after finishing like a hard leg session. The next morning, I remember waking up and my left lower, I would say like upper groin or like lower like lower left abdominal area felt like kind of strained, like I might have like pulled a muscle or something along those lines. Like I thought it was like a lower left oblique strain is what I originally thought. So I was like, I went pretty hard yesterday. This is like kind of new. I was like 3, maybe 4 weeks in. I was probably like at the top of like the accumulation cycle before I was like about to deload. And I was like, maybe the RPO is actually higher than I thought it was. And, maybe this is my body telling me I need a deload. So I'll start the deload right away. I was like 3-4 days in, wasn't getting any better. And it hurt. Like it was low. I think I was characterizing it as like a 1, like very low mild grade pain, but it was like persistent. Like it would never stop. So I was like, 3 or 4 days in, it should not hurt as much. I was like, I'll do a little bit of light movement, but I won't load up anything for like the rest of the deload week. And then I got like over a week in and it was still hurting. So I was like, I might have messed something up. So I called my doctor probably on like day 8 or 9, and I was like, I think I might have like strained something. I want to come in, just get it checked out. I do have a history of hernias. I know the likelihood of repeat is like pretty high. It's on the opposite side of where I've had surgery before in the past, but I want to come in and just get it checked out. So I went into my general practitioner. She did some like manual manipulation, testing, like hip flexion, all these different things. And she was like, it could be a hernia. What I was testing for was to see if it was like a tight psoas. I knew that because I don't stretch as much as I think I should, but I do stretch. I do like go for walks. I do have like adequate protein intake. So I was like, no, that doesn't seem to click. So she was like, I'm going to refer you on to a surgeon. I was like, okay, great. I was going on a trip at the time, shortly after that. So I made an appointment for once I came back from the trip. I saw a surgeon in Chicago. I went in. He did some like quick manipulations, nothing crazy. Pretty much, he was just like drop trow, cough, blah blah blah. Like some manual stimulation of like the groin area. He's like, yep, definitely a hernia. Let my team know, and we'll schedule the surgery. So I was like, I kind of don't want to do it right away. I have a Tough Mudder coming up in June, and then I'm also going to be leaving Chicago at the end of June. So I have to do it somewhere in between. And he was like, that's fine. He was like, it can wait. So I was like really nervous and anxious about doing the Tough Mudder back in June because I was like, I don't know, like with like all these obstacles, all these things, like I don't know if that'll work. So I held off on scheduling it. I chit-chatted with some family members. My mother, who actually I think she just had her last day today, she's worked in the healthcare industry for like almost 30 years. And she was like, why don't we just contact your surgeon from like, when you were like 9 or whatever. I was like, cool, yeah, that'd be great. So I ended up setting an appointment for him in July, early July. And I went through the Tough Mudder. Everything was great. The pain had like mostly subsided so that it was like not persistent. Some days like I forget that it's like even a thing. And I can go about my training. The biggest thing that I've amended in my training is I don't really do heavy compound barbell exercises. Then no Valsalva maneuver. So no holding my breath. For squats, I'm not doing heavy squats. I might do a goblet squat from here or there with like lifted heels to like as a burnout set, but nothing too crazy. Even something like I think hamstring work has been the hardest for me to like figure out, because I can do like walking lunges, no problem. I can do Bulgarian split squats for quad work, like leg extensions, no problem. Ham curls are fine, but there's only so many ham curls I can do and like dedicate focus towards. So once I get into that 4 or 5 set range per session, I'm kind of like, oh. So I've experimented with like doing like 3 sessions a week as opposed to 2. But I really want to focus on loading my hamstrings during hip flexion. So like, you know, something like an RDL or straight leg deadlift type dealio. So I have done that from time to time with dumbbells. It feels okay, but not super great. I would probably caution most people away from that. So I would say definitely do that at your own risk. Obviously, none of this is like medical advice. This is highly variable per person. I'll give myself some credit. I'm in pretty good shape. So I think I can get away with a lot. It's also not clear that it actually is a hernia from my latest appointment. So my latest appointment back in July, my surgeon where I currently live, he did some manipulations. He checked out some areas. He dedicated like a lot more time than the surgeon in Chicago did. And he was like, I'm not even positive that this is a hernia, to be honest with you. He was like, it could be. If so, it's extremely mild. And he was like, I actually think that it's more likely that you have a hernia on the other side where like you had the original surgery. He was like, I'm sensing like more weakness, less responsiveness in like that area, as opposed to like the opposite side where you're saying like you're experiencing pain. So that can be like one of the challenges with like referral pain, which I think we've talked about before, but you might have like pain in your bicep, for example, but the source actually could just be like a tightness or like lack of activation of like some sort of like back musculature. So that's what I believe is known as like referral pain. So he set up we set up a 6-week checkup. So I think that's in a week and a half from now, and we're gonna kind of make a final determination. So, some days, like I honestly, I don't even realize. I've had a couple, 1 or 2 like hard training sessions this week, whereas like the next day I might be like, I can sense that's a thing, but it's not persistent. It's not anything like it was back in March. It's just like a really very vague dull pain, and it's something that like I might sense like 5 or 10% of the time, like the day after, for example. So I'll use little things like that somewhat as a metric to gauge how much more I can like progressively overload the next time. So it's I'm trying to be very like cautious in what I do. Like I said, no valsalva maneuver. So if this is something that you think that like you have a similar condition, I would strongly encourage that, because the biggest risk for hernias, to the best of my understanding, not being a medical professional, is the risk of strangulation. So you want to avoid that at all costs. I do think that since I've been in a little bit of like a dieting phase, and I've just been trying to lean out a little bit, nothing crazy, I think I probably have lost a little bit of mass in my legs, but I'm really impressed with how the cut's gone overall for like my upper body, and just like the level of like leanness I've got to. So I'll probably continue that. I've mostly just been at maintenance, to be honest with you, just because I haven't really cared too much, because I like the look a lot, actually, about like losing additional fat. I want to make sure that like my performance is there. And then that like competitive piece, I've been doing like a lot of like basketball with friends and like biking, and then like running too, because I'm training for just like a 7-mile road race, nothing, no big deal. And then I guess I'm technically training for charity bike event too. But because I'm so competitive, I'm always like pushing it. So I want to make sure that I'm like, carved up. So I don't really care too much about like weight loss right now. I've probably mostly been like consuming like an isocaloric diet. My weight has kind of like stayed. I don't even weigh myself every day, and it's like a kind of a crap. Like I had a digital scale before. I don't have that anymore. I've just got like one of the old fashioned, like you step on it, it's like I think it's analog. But yeah, my weight's kind of stalled at like 154, but I'm not complaining. I actually like the look a lot. So that's kind of been my experience. No barbell squats, no like hack squats. I've done leg press a couple times, but I've gone light, higher rep. I stay pretty far away from RPE 10 if I do some sort of like bilateral movement, like a leg press, for example. I go hard on leg extensions. I go really hard on leg extensions. I probably try to make up for that on leg extensions, so like RPE 9 or 10 on every set. But like Bulgarian split squats, I probably stay pretty far away from failure. Lunges, I stay decently far from failure, and then no squats, no deadlifts, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much what I've done. No bench. I'll do like barbell bench or dumbbell bench, or mostly dumbbell incline for chest work or push-ups, that kind of thing. And a lot of flies, a lot of machine chest flies, like a lot of machine chest flies.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about bench and deadlift too. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So you said you notice it here and there like now, but since it's been about 2 months, has like the pain like been like as high as it did like in the beginning of like June?
It's actually it's been almost 5 months now.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, since March.
So since March, has it been like to that level where it's like 5 or higher, 5 or 10 being like 10 being the worst?
No, it never got to that. I would say like the most it ever got to was 2, but it was like persistent and consistent. It's not anymore. If it gets up to like a 0.5 or a 1 on like the out of 10 scale, it's transient. So it comes and it goes. So yeah. Like for example, I'll like be on a morning walk with my brother and the dogs, and I'll be walking up. I feel great. Like if I did have this, like if I was experiencing this, like, you know, quote unquote injured state or whatnot, I would think that like this type of loading like could affect that, and it doesn't. And then like I'll go for a run and I'm like totally fine, and I might even work out like pretty damn hard and like push like RPE 10, like force rep sets sometimes if I'm like, oh, you know, I missed a couple of like sets this week, so I need to like make up or what, you know, like the crazy do. And the next day I might be like totally fine. But every once in a while when I do that, when I push the limits, that's when the next day I'm usually like, yeah, I can tell that it's there, but it's like it's doable, it's sustainable. And for me, unless something like dramatically changed when I see and talk to my surgeon, it's just gonna be something that like I deal with. I might even try and get back into doing squats. So just be breather squats. I still won't do the Valsalva maneuver. I'll start super light. It might be like 10 pounds on a Smith machine. I pretty much solely work out at either Planet Fitness or at at my house, like the gym that we have in our basement. So yeah, so for me, it's not worth sacrificing my quality of life at the moment to like actually go through a surgery. There's obviously risks with having surgery. It is super safe, and it's like much better than it has been like in decades past. Although like when I last had my surgery, which was like 99 or 2000, everything was fine. Like I technically did have a small infection, but it was just it was like surface level infection. It was like one of the stitches had like a small infection. I was totally fine. Everything healed up fine. But there's risks when you get yourself cut open. Plus, it would put me out of commission. And I have a road race coming up in just over 2 weeks. I have a charity bike event coming up in like 4 weeks. I have another a Spartan race that I'm going to do in November. So I'd much rather prioritize that. And then when I push it too far, I'll focus on my recovery and just kind of keep on chugging along.
Awesome, Roman. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the times we kind of give like a little detail here and there, because like over the past 5 months, I feel like it was like maybe an update for like 2-3 minutes, and then like update 2-3 minutes like a month later, blah blah blah. But it wasn't really like an overview of what happened. And same with me. I've only had 2 surgeries in my life. One was when I was a baby. I had a hernia. So I don't remember that one. And like the second one was when I was like 22 years old. and it was like I had like a hardened sty in my eye, and I wasn't even drugged. I think I just had like needles, like 2 needle shots in my face so I wouldn't feel the pain. And they just like cut open my eyelid and just drained it while I was awake. And that was the only other surgery I had. And I couldn't tell you like how surgery feels because I don't really know like from experience, but I wouldn't want to have surgery as much as possible. And I'm hoping my streak continues until whenever that day comes, but maybe never happens. I'm hoping. But well, thank you guys for tuning in. Catch us on all Instagram, YouTube, all audio platforms. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.